But when I say long enough and hard enough, it can be a long, hard road. Because if you just focus on the physical healing of your body and you don't work at the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual, you're going to finally see that it does have something to do with it. And the same way is true with emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. If you just focus on spiritual healing and you don't worry about what you eat, you don't worry about taking care of your body, it'll be a long, hard road. If you can take these four together, you'll have tremendous results. The spirit is actually who we are. Our body is temporary. The soul and the spirit are permanent, according to my understanding of the scriptures. We'll get a new body. The spirit relates to God. Its primary function is to receive and communicate life to our body and soul. And it receives the new birth. Soul is the mind, will, and emotions. The soul has a lot to do. The soul is where it is like the communication part of. It expresses how we feel in the spirit, but it also is made up of our past. And so, if there's unforgiveness and fear and strife, rejection, abandonment, division in the soul, we won't have peace. If we have condemnation of each other, always picking on each other, always putting each other down, always finding fault with each other, we won't have peace. What we need to do is apply the biblical principles of if we see our brother has something against us, to talk to them, to talk to him, her, whoever it may be, and resolve the issue, apologize, make things right to the best of our ability so that we can be released. And just that, you will see a lot of physical healing happen. We have seen it. We've seen that where if somebody just couldn't forgive somebody. Now, forgiving can involve yourself. We see it where people can forgive everybody else, but they cannot forgive themselves. They know, we know in our heart, we know in our mind that God forgave us. But that 18 inches from the mind to the heart can be a little hard to penetrate sometimes, where we can experience peace. Knowing that we are saved, and that even though God feels distant sometimes, we know that He is there. He has promised He will never leave us nor forsake us. But I find it interesting how many people focus on faith, and they don't go and see why they don't have peace in their life. They don't clean out the unforgiveness, the conflicts, the different things, different aspects of their life. Faith is like putting it into overdrive. If you are constantly, every day, hanging on to faith and not feeling it, not feeling the peace, it is time to find out why not. The reason I say that is When you're in overdrive, your adrenals kick in. I'm talking physically now. The adrenals kick in. You're hanging on to faith, and you're going on. You're in overdrive. You can only do that so long, especially without supporting the adrenal system, the endocrine system. If you do not support that, what happens is you'll have a nervous breakdown. That's the adrenal shutting down, saying, I can't do it anymore. And that is why we see these people that supposedly are believing, they have faith, and they continue day after day, they act like everything is going fine. They can never feel it in their heart. And boom, one day they're down. And you wonder why. You know, I always thought this person had so much faith. He was always talking about the Bible. He was always quoting this, always quoting that. But if you can never get to the point where you can feel it, you need to find out why not. Now, every one of us will have days where we will not feel it. That's basically a rule of thumb. There are days when we have to go on faith, and we can't go by our feelings, and that's well and good. A lot of people will tell you we don't go by our feelings, we go by faith, and that's true. But there also comes a time when we need to go and find out why the feelings don't follow. If the feelings do not follow the faith, then there's something blocking it. It can be something that we completely forgot. But I have yet to find it where if somebody came and said, I just can't feel it. Where if we prayed and asked the Holy Spirit to reveal what it was, we have always gotten answers. Always. May have been something where as a little child, somebody physically hurt them, verbally, just plumb down said the wrong words. Meant that the way were said. But somehow you hang on to that. And then you go on and you kind of lock it away. Now there will be people who will say they don't believe in that. Well, if they don't believe in that, how come David in the Psalms kept praying to God, God, reveal to me the secret sins of my heart? I fully believe that if our heart is completely cleansed, completely no issues of the heart left, we will have peace at all times. If you're at that point, God bless you and help me out with mine. But I think most people will find that, yes, their spirit is saved. Yes, they're going to heaven. But no, they probably do not have everything completely cleaned out. I like to define it as a house. The day that we get saved, we have this house, and let's say the devil has this house all trashed. The day we get saved is the day that the house ownership gets transferred to Jesus. Now it depends on what happened before this, while the devil was still in control of this house, in how bad the remodeling process is going to be. You're still saved, but the house needs to be remodeled. Now some people, when they get saved real early, the house is not too bad. There may be a few dents, a few marks on the walls. But some people, they find that the house is pretty dilapidated. The doors may be off the hinges. The cabinets falling down. Windows broken. Floors breaking down in places. And I like to look at it this way. I like to think that God would say, okay, I want you to remodel the house. Because I want you to have heaven on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So he wants us to clean our temple. Or the temple is where Jesus lives, and he really wants a clean place to live. So he's saying, I'll supply all the material, you do the labor. But get your house cleaned up, remodel. So now you got this house that's all run down, you start cleaning it up. Start throwing out the trash, you put new doors on, you put cabinets back where they belong, you put a new floor in, whatever you need to do. Now you got a nice clean room. And you're feeling good. People come over and they look at your nice clean house. You're enjoying it, they're enjoying it. Look how much he's changed. This is good. Some friend from school, better known as the school bully, shows up, charges into your room, sees how nice it is. He sees a door over there, he yanks it open. Hey, there's a room over here that you haven't cleaned yet. What do you think of that? Look at all the trash in there. Well, now you got two choices. Slam the door shut and nail it shut, never look in there again, or clean it up. If there's anything in your life that irritates you or angers you, there's something behind it. If you're not willing to look at that anger, you're shutting the door, locking it, or forbidding anybody to ever anger you again. But invariably, somebody will know where the key is, or they'll break the door down for you at the wrong time. And you'll find yourself getting angry, and you don't know why. You find yourself getting upset. You feel it's starting to rise up, and you're thinking, whoa, I'm a Christian. I don't do this. Well, something does. Some of you this may not apply to, but some of us it does apply. So, then at that time, most people will find it to their benefit to clean that house, to clean that room as well. So they'll go in there and they'll start figuring out why this angered them, why they feel depressed, why they're upset. You get that all cleaned up and you feel real good again. Until somebody shows you your basement or your attic. So it's a continuing process. For some people, they immediately kick in. When they get born again, they immediately kick in and they clean the whole house. To the best of their ability anyway. But for some people, they just focus on one room and then they want to just quit there and say, I'm born again. And they don't want to look at the renewing of their mind. You know, it's interesting, the thinking that when you're born again, everything is over and you're all cleaned out. Thinking is not according to Scripture the way I read the Scriptures, because after that it says the renewing of your mind and the sanctification and the reconstruction, whatever the words are. So evidently there's something that goes on after you get saved. The Bible says we're created in God's image. And God has emotions. Now there will be people who will tell you He doesn't, but it's not true. We can read where God gets angry, God is jealous, different things that we can read of where God does have emotions. And our emotional needs are a very big part of healing. We have found that emotions are behind most physical symptoms. Our bodies are made to heal themselves. That's the way they were originally designed. When sin entered and the curse came, was when we started having physical breakdown of the body. If somebody has physical symptoms, very often there are emotional causes. People don't like to talk about this because most people have something physical that bothers them. And they want to think that emotionally they're sound. But I have yet to find where a physical symptom was not backed by emotional, did not have an emotional blockage except for accidents. When there was an accident, you break a bone and, it's bang, it happened. But even there, if it doesn't heal rapidly, we find there to be emotional blockages. Trauma, unforgiveness. Somebody hits you with a car and you just don't heal, and you find out you really haven't forgiven that person. It was his fault, and now you're off of work for a while, and you really examine yourself, you find you really haven't forgiven him. And you forgive him, healing happens. We've seen it. If you study what modern medication does, the way it works, most of them are blockers. If you look up what they do, how they function, they're T-cell blockers, B-cell blockers, alpha blockers, beta blockers. The list goes on. What they do is they block the signals that the body is giving off and saying, I need help in this area. But the help is not coming because of an emotional blockage. And so there's pain there. Pain keeps telling the brain, I need help. Brain can't send help because of the emotional blockages. So now you take medication to block the signal that is saying I have pain. Take, for instance, headache. If you have a headache, you take Tylenol, aspirin or something. It blocks the signal telling you that you have a headache. Now you don't know it anymore. You still have a headache. The headache didn't change one bit. You just don't know it anymore. You don't feel it anymore. So the problem continues. How many of you take your vehicle and your little oil light comes on? How many of you cut the wire at that point? So you don't know it anymore? If you have a headache, there's a reason for it. If you take Tylenol, that's a temporary fix. If you continue to take medication on a regular basis, something else is going on in your body. Something else is being blocked from functioning the way God intended it to function. All at once, yeah, it looks like your diabetes is under control, and then the next thing you know, you're having problems in your circulatory system. Or you're having problems with your kidneys failing. So you take another medication. Now, I don't know if this applies to this group or not, but we've seen it many times. We've had people come taking 11, 12, 13 different medications. You start looking at what the medications they are. This one's to counteract the other one, and the other one, and the other one, and the other one. You go back to find out what they originally did. Correct that problem, correct the unforgiveness, correct the fear, whatever it was that caused the original problem. They get off of medication. I've seen it happen many times. I try to be careful in how much I talk against medication, because I realize that some people would probably die if they get off of medication. And I know that some medications you have to be very careful how fast you come off of them. But if you find out why you're taking medication, why your body is not functioning the way God intended it to function, and correct that, you'll see healing happen. You'll see stuff heal that every doctor in the state tells you is incurable. You'll see it heal. Because our bodies are made to heal. It's the spiritual, the emotional, and the mental that comes in the way of physical healing. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do anything for the physical, but you do need to consider taking everything together. Yeah?
I think it makes a lot of sense. For me, I was wondering, how do you separate the emotional and the mental?
The question is, how do you separate the emotional and the mental? The way I look at it, and I haven't done a lot of studies on this, but to me, emotional is the heart, mental is the mind. And there's a big difference. We can know things in our mind that we can't get into our heart. We can know that this or that is true, but not feel it. Does that make sense? And so emotional has a lot to do with how do you feel, where mental is more how do you think. And some people have a problem with the one and not the other. Some have a problem with the other and not the one. But most of the time you'll see them pretty much going together. If somebody has mental problems, they'll have emotional problems most of the time. And vice versa. Yeah.